Before you listen, if you enjoy the stories and want to hear more, then please consider subscribing. Most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please take this time to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story and be the first to hear. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. I've had Snapchat for years and added tons of people without thinking much of it. But one random ad has turned into an unsettling experience I will soon forget. It started innocuously when someone with the username hoopsfan456 sent me a friend request. I didn't recognize the name, but I often accept follows from strangers just to increase my Snap score. I figured what's the harm in one more person seeing my story? I quickly forgot about the new follower until I posted a photo of myself at a concert. Within minutes, hoopstan456 messaged me out of nowhere commenting on my looks. Taken aback, I replied politely but revealed nothing personal. Undeterred, he started asking invasive questions about where I lived, worked, and hung out. My guard immediately went up as I dodged his prying, but he kept badgering me for more photos and details about my life. I told him I wasn't comfortable sharing that information. He begged to know at least what school I went to and when he could see more of me. I stopped replying altogether, thoroughly creeped out by this pushy stranger. But the next day, I opened Snapchat to find countless messages from hoopsfan456 demanding I talk to him. He claimed we must have some deep connection since we were fated to meet on Snapchat. I told him to leave me alone and removed him as a friend. Problem solved, or so I thought. Over the next week, 4 more accounts all requested to add me, each some variation of hoopsfan. Against my better judgment, I accepted one to give him a stern warning that I had reported his harassment. But of course that only encouraged him. Each new hoopstan account would message nonstop, getting increasingly threatening when I didn't respond. He apparently had my name and photos now, so blocking him was useless. He'd just make a fresh account and continue the torment. I stopped posting anything identifiable, but that barely slowed him down. Eventually, I just deleted Snapchat altogether to escape this unhinged stalker. I know social media can breed obsession in sick individuals, but I never imagined an innocent accept would unleash such a tidal wave of harassment. Even after removing my account, this man's abuse haunted me. I realized how easily Snapchat facilitated his fixation by allowing limitless profiles tied only to a single device. Any creep could craft an endless swarm of accounts to terrorize someone while evading any consequences. I confided in friends about the traumatic experience. Most shared their own stories of Snapchat harassment, since its anonymity makes it a magnet for predators. One had been secretly recorded by a friend and still lives in fear of the video surfacing. Another discovered she was part of a lewd group chat with people sharing her images. We all agreed Snapchat's model makes it far too easy for users to be victimized and exploited. Lobbying for reforms that protect privacy became our mission. We met with our school, local officials, even Snapchat corporate to propose changes making harassment harder. While progress was slow, venting our frustration felt empowering. Forming a survivor support group also helped us heal. Together we could commiserate and assure each other we weren't to blame for the abuse. I found comfort knowing none of us were alone in this fight. Some nights I still had panic attacks imagining Hoopstan finding more ways to resurface. But bonding with others who endured similar trauma makes the lingering pain more bearable. I might constantly glance over my shoulder for the rest of my life, but I refuse to let one psychopath's obsession indefinitely destroy my peace. We all assume virtual interactions are harmless, but they can invite real danger, as I learned through terrifying experience. While I wish Snapchat would overhaul their model to offer users more protection, the sad truth is we can only control our own behavior online. I now keep strict privacy across all platforms and ignore messages from anyone unfamiliar. It saddens me that the threat of stalkers demands such hypervigilance. But until social media aligns safety with profit, users like me will remain vulnerable. My trauma transformed me from a carefree sharer to a fierce advocate for online reform. The countless Hoops fans out there rely on silence to keep victimizing, but we survivors refuse to be silent any longer. They might wreak havoc under the shield of anonymity, but together we can still shine a blazing spotlight on this accepted abuse. By bravely speaking out, I take back a little power that was stolen from me. I woke up with a pounding headache and no memory of the night before. As I grabbed my phone to check the time, I noticed a string of Snapchat notifications. Confused, I opened the app to dozens of messages asking if I was okay. Even more strange, my Snapchat story was full of videos I had absolutely no recollection of taking. They showed me stumbling around a dimly lit house party looking completely disoriented. My speech was slurred and I seemed barely able to stand or keep my eyes open. I watched in stunned horror as a version of myself I didn't recognize rambled incoherently into the camera and dropped it repeatedly. The blurry footage showed glimpses of strangers laughing and poking fun at my helpless state. What the hell happened last night? The last thing I remembered was having one drink at my friend's casual get-together before it all went black. Watching these disturbing snaps was like seeing a stranger wearing my skin. I frantically called my friend to ask if she knew why I was apparently blackout drunk at her small house party. She sounded shocked, saying I'd seemed buzzed but totally normal before mysteriously disappearing for over an hour. I felt nauseous as I continued scrolling through more alarming snaps with zero explanation. My inebriation seemed to sharply escalate at one point, stumbling into walls and nearly passing out. The out-of-body clip stopped abruptly after I apparently left the party and stepped into a car. I racked my brain trying to fill the missing pieces. Did someone drug my drink when I wasn't looking? I didn't think any of my friends at the party would do something so sinister. The only other explanation was that someone managed to hack into my account and was pranking me. Though the footage looked uncomfortably realistic for a joke, I tried to convince myself this must be an elaborate hoax by some cruel hacker. But deep down I feared I'd been far too careless with my drink and put myself in danger. Even if nothing worse happened, the thought of hours of my life totally erased was unsettling. I changed my password and enabled two-factor authentication, hoping that would keep out any digital intruders. But I still couldn't shake a nagging unease, wondering if the night had exposed me to some unknown real-life threat I was helpless to recall. In the following weeks, I became hyper-vigilant about monitoring my drinks and who was around them. I went out less, avoiding crowded parties where my vulnerability could be exploited again. At relaxed gatherings with close friends, I still laughed and chatted like normal, but all it took was one lapse in awareness for disaster to strike. I would not let my safety be compromised twice. Weeks later, I finally felt comfortable going to a small campus event again. I had mingled casually with my drink close by my side the whole night. For once, I was able to relax and enjoy myself without obsessive worry. But the next morning, I awoke to an aching head and new Snapchat notifications. Heart pounding, I opened the app to find my story once again flooded with strange, disoriented videos from the night before. My blood ran cold realizing this wasn't just a sick one-time prank. Someone had once again tampered with me and dutifully documented my helpless state. All my precautions meant nothing. This time, I went straight to campus police with the disturbing snap evidence. They said drug-facilitated crimes were on the rise lately. I shuddered, realizing how narrowly I'd avoided becoming a grim statistic twice now. The police were unable to identify any suspects from my fuzzy secondhand footage, but they tightened security at student events and warned everyone to never let drinks out of sight. Meanwhile, I grew wary of even my closest friends, wondering if a smiling face hid sinister intent. I longed to feel carefree fun with peers again, but that simple joy had been stolen from me. Now nightlife held only fear of the next blackout, the next stretch of lost time memorialized in haunting snaps. My dreams kept flashing back to those unsettling videos, pausing on blurred faces in the background, hoping to finally recognize my remorseless assailant. But their identity remained a mystery, even as they lurked in shadowy corners of my mind. My memories might be messed up, but at least the sun rises every day no matter what you know. And I know my friends have got my back. It helps not feeling so alone with this crappy thing that happened. People can surprise you, some in really terrible ways, but others by showing up when things get dark. So I'm trying to focus on the good ones and the light they bring. The next time some shady dude tries to slip something in a drink, I hope nobody will be afraid to speak up. So, yeah, I'm just trying to find strength in opening up, not being quiet and afraid. What happened sucks, but it doesn't have to defeat me, you know. I don't want to hand that power over to some hidden creep who gets off on this crap. I'm still here, still fighting, and that's what matters. My phone buzzed with a Snapchat notification from an unknown account. I opened it to find a photo of me exiting my apartment building. Confused, I checked the username, watching you 28. My stomach dropped. More snaps quickly followed showing me at the gym, walking my dog, shopping at the mall, all taken secretly without my knowledge. The mysterious account even sent shots of me inside my own home, cooking dinner, watching TV, getting ready for bed. I was thoroughly freaked out. Who was this creep stalking my every move? How long had they been spying on me without my realizing? I nervously glanced around, feeling watched even in the supposed privacy of my apartment. I racked my brain trying to figure out who could be behind the account. No one in my normal Snapchat friend list seemed likely, and I avoided posting my username publicly or adding strangers. So how did this predator find me? Over the next few weeks, the unsettling snaps escalated. Watching You 28 documented my entire daily routine, where I went, who I talked to, everything. I tried changing my habits, but they always knew exactly where to lurk to capture me on camera. At night, photos arrived of me lying in bed from voyeuristic angles. I'd bolt up and search my empty apartment, having no idea how they got such invasive access. I felt violated but also terrified, imagining this psycho could be inside my home watching me sleep. Going to the police felt pointless when I had no name or identity to give them. But finally, I'd had enough. I confronted Watching You 28 in a long snap, threatening to take legal action if they didn't leave me alone. Of course, that only provoked them more. The next morning, I woke to photos of myself from the night before asleep in bed. Only this time, Watching You 28 had scribbled threatening messages across the images like, "I own you." My blood ran cold. In a panic, I told my friends about the horror movie-esque Snapchat stalker. They came over to stay with me, on alert in case Watching You 28 tried to make any physical moves toward me. But for a while, the snaps stopped, making me fear they were escalating to something worse. My anxiety was so crippling that I barely slept or left my apartment, just waiting for this psycho to reemerge. I nearly had a meltdown when another snap notification came weeks later. Handshaking, I'd opened it. But rather than more threats, I was confused to see a bland photo of someone's living room I didn't recognize. The stalker had sent it to my whole Snapchat friend list, not just targeting me this time. My friends started texting me, just as baffled as I was. We soon pieced together that Watching You 28 had abruptly started sending mundane snaps to everyone on their friend list. Almost like whoever was behind it had abruptly lost interest. While part of me worried it was just another twisted game, weeks went by without any new creepy messages specifically for me. The random mass snaps continued harmlessly from Watching You 28 before eventually stopping altogether. To this day, I have no idea who stalked me so violently or why they became disengaged. I considered deleting Snapchat, but couldn't cut off contact with real friends just because of one psycho. Still, I remained vigilant about protecting my privacy and location. That chilling experience taught me our digital life can easily be infiltrated by predators hiding behind a fake profile. I may never learn the identity of Watching You 28 or their motive for fixating on me, but I won't let that stop me from living my life. I refuse to hand over control to some anonymous coward who gets thrills from harassing strangers. While they may hide behind a device, their choices expose their true ugliness to the world. Documenting someone's existence without consent isn't a harmless game. It's a deeply disturbing crime. I can only hope sharing my unsettling story makes more people consider how readily stalkers can exploit apps like Snapchat. Who watches the watchers when technology allows such intrusive anonymity? We all must learn to protect ourselves on these virtual platforms where identities can be totally fabricated. Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.